Hello and welcome to the latest episode of The Talking Tradesman. With me in the studio today, I have James Young from Dragonfly Decorating. We're going to hear all about James's story. But first of all, mate, a massive thank you for giving up your time and making the effort to travel up here today and be here with me in the studio. So huge thank you, mate. Really do appreciate your time.
Mate. Very welcome.
So then, James, let's talk, man.
Right, where do we start? It's just childhood trauma to begin with. We'll go straight in.
Let's go, mate. Let's go straight. So stick an age on it for me, mate. Like, how far back are we going?
So because of the trauma, I've blocked a lot of memory from a young age. So I can just remember from about 8 years old.
Okay.
My mum suffered with alcoholism.
Right.
And back then there wasn't really anything for mental health or...
Yeah.
So I think it was within 2 years she started drinking a lot more. And then she sadly just had enough and committed suicide.
Oh, mate, I'm sorry to hear that.
So, which from a young age, obviously, I don't really remember much, but I think I did at that time. So 8-year-old me was probably, well, where's my mum gone?
So that happened. So your mother took her own life when you were 8.
Yeah, took her own life when I was 8.
Right.
And from then, I didn't know how she done it. So it was until I was about 12. We moved a couple of times because my dad wanted us to different scenery. And
So your dad was in the house. Have you got siblings?
so yes, I've got 3 older sisters.
Okay.
Sadly, my eldest died 6 years ago, but we'll talk about that as we get through my life, sort of thing. And yeah, so going, trying to go through school, and you got people looking at you, and they know, but I didn't know how or why. So you're always questioning yourself.
So the people around you, or your peer group, I guess, were aware of the circumstances and you weren't.
Yeah, and I think my family done it for a bit of safety.
Yeah.
And a bit of just it's too young to know.
Yeah.
And then we moved into a really nice cottage in Battle, and there was always this wooden chest outside my dad's room. And I was always fond of what's in that chest. And then one day, I think my sisters were talking to me about it, and they said, in the chest, when you're ready, go and have a look. So I opened the chest, and just papers, articles, it was all over the front. I'm going to say how, because I'm real, and I want this to hopefully help others if they're struggling to talk about.
I mean, first of all, massive credit to you, James, for sitting and talking about this, because I know it can't be easy. And that's something that I'm so respectful of all the guests that come here, because they all sit here for the same reason, which is because they've been through something and they want to use their experience to then help others.
Yeah.
So huge respect to you, mate. I thank you for sharing.
And again, it's a big honour to be sitting here, because like I said, the mental health side and everything down that road is, for me and my family, it's massive. And the more
the honour's all mine.
The more we can get it out there, the more we can spread, and But yeah, anyway, so my sister Jenny, the middle sister, she lived in a place called Pevensey Bay, which is just before Eastbourne. And at the time, my dad took me and the youngest sister to the cinema, and my mum was locked at home on her own, drinking. And then she just got in the car, and I think she was driving to see my other sister Jenny. and then went to the beach, and there was a pub and a massive unit at the end. She just poured petrol over herself and drove into the massive unit, and that was it, gone.
Jesus Christ, mate.
So going, finding it all over the articles, and it was just like
I can't begin to imagine.
So that was like the trauma, and it's the trauma from when you're that age, and then seeing it, it's and it's vivid. So and we've still got to drive through stuff that way to get to places, and every time I drive near it, it's just a bit.
Might be a strange question to ask, but once you'd found out the details, was there some kind of closure within that, or as horrific as that must have been? But I guess we touched a little bit pre-record about the wondering and the not knowing, very different circumstance. But did it give you any kind of closure on it?
I think it did and it didn't. I think from then I just escalated. So I was getting into fights. I was just so angry. I was just so angry. Just frustrated, I think. Because it's like, why? And I still don't get to this day, like, why? Obviously she had her reasons. But it's just growing up without your mum, and I've never known what that was, and you're going through school and all your friends have got their families, and you're just sat there like, well, what do I do? So I felt like from then I was just in pilot mode. Just
once you'd made that discovery, mate, with the chest, did you speak to anybody, like your dad, or did that converse? Did you sort of say, "Look, I know now"? Was there any?
Again, because it's so vivid. I think I spoke, or I think my eldest sisters came, and just talked to me about it. I was just like, do you feel all right now, or there wasn't this. I can't remember if my dad was there or not, because he was always working away, because obviously he needed to provide, and growing up again, I was just the flashbacks are there, but the memories aren't really there. So it's like they're haunting flashbacks because you know that they're real, but there's no like. And to this day, my sisters go, "Do you remember this?" And I'm like, "No." So again, I think it's a self-defense mechanism that it's blocked some of it, but most of it is vivid flashbacks. And then that was when alcohol was a big escape, maybe.
And how old were you then? 12?
I was about 13, started drinking.
Okay.
Just at, parties or in the field with your friends.
I mean, to be fair, mate, how old are you, James?
I'm 34.
Okay. I'm 40, but that was like I was drinking from a young age. It was like a normal. I mean, it's not normal, I guess, now I look back, but it felt normal at the time.
Then you think, that's... And it's the in thing to run away with your mates.
Yeah.
In the woods. Drink, smoke, set fires, and that was when it really escalated. I was just thinking, yeah, that's cool, that's helping me. I need to drink now to survive, and I think that's what it was. It was survival mode. But obviously now looking back on it, it was just a big mask and a big escape from reality.
Yeah, listen, mate, so many people take that path. You know,
Yeah.
it's the thing with mental health. It's people are talking about it more and more now. There's a lot of talk. Action is another thing, but rewinding back to then, so you're talking over 20 years ago, very different world. And I look around now from characters in my past, and I think, there were obviously issues as to the behaviour in terms of drink and drugs and all the rest of it. But it was just, wasn't openly talked about, was it, mental health?
No.
So my first thought now with what you've been through would have been, Christ, let's get him to talk to somebody. Let's put him in front of a counsellor, therapist, and let's make sure we work through those emotions, because we all know what happens when you bottle them. But then it wasn't, was it? Then it was.
No.
We just got to get on with it, mate. Let's pause there a moment to thank this episode's sponsors, Q1. Q1 are a premium masking solution. They offer the ultimate choice for professionals that demand perfection. Whatever you're painting, Q1 tapes deliver clean, sharp lines every time. Q1 tapes are designed for superior adhesion and easy removal, leaving no residue behind. We use Q1 tapes in our business all the time, on every job. In addition to the painter's tapes, Q1 offer a range of surface protection technology, solutions and accessories. You can cover things like worktops, hard floor and kitchen units with a range of Q1 protections. Using Q1, your projects are going to look professional and the results will speak for themselves. Q1 is available at all of your favourite stores and online at q1tapes.com. Thank you to Q1 for supporting the Talking Tradesman podcast and helping us raise mental health awareness in the industry. Let's get back to the episode.
Just got to get on with it, and I think back then my dad, he was trying to, I think it was anger management I went to, which was talking about over the last few years, and nothing really helped, because I don't think it was grabbing hold of what the actual problem is. I think they just thought, he's just a kid with trauma, he's just got anger problems, we'll try and do this. But where now there's a lot of different paths now through mental health treatment, and like I said, I've had a lot of CBT treatment and other stuff, but like I said, the last 8 months I've probably loved myself and looked in the mirror and liked who I saw in the last 15 to 20 years.
I'm so glad to hear that, mate.
Because it's, again, I was escaping and I was drinking, and even at parties I was the last one up, saying to my mates, "Come on, let's keep going," and they're like, "Whoa, hang on a minute." And then it led up to about 19, 20. And I was always the one with the least money, but I would make sure that everyone had a drink in their hand. Everyone was okay. Because I feel like I knew what it was like to be unrecognisable. No self-worth, no self-love. Wanting to make sure everyone had the best time, and I put others first before myself. Which, I can't go back and change that. I think.
What do you think you were trying to achieve when you were doing that?
I just wanted to be seen, I think. Because I don't think people knew. They knew that I had a bit of a bad life. It was all, I don't really know. I think it was I just needed to be sat down and said, "I'm here. I'm here for you. What do you need me to do?"
So fucking hard, mate, isn't it? Because just running through the scenario in my head and thinking about maybe the situation from your dad's point of view as well, that after losing your mum, he's then the single dad that's got to provide for everyone. So as a byproduct of that, potentially then he's less present because he's trying to provide.
Yeah, I mean, I had a nanny straight after my mum died.
Oh, really?
So my dad had to get a nanny in and pick me up from school, cook me dinners. And it was me and my other sister Amy. She's 3 years older than me. And she knows everything. She remembers everything, and she's the main one that says, "Do you remember this?" Or I'm like, "No." And then obviously talking, as I'm getting older, and I moved to Portsmouth with a group of my hometown friends. They were going to university.
Hometown was where? Sorry.
Battle at the time.
Where? Sorry. Battle.
Oh, it's like East Sussex, the Battle of Hastings.
Yeah.
So Battle's the core of the town.
Oh, okay.
And then it's got Hastings, Bexhill, Eastbourne.
Oh, was that actually to do with it? I mean, not to divert to the Battle of Hastings. Was that because it was near Battle? I just thought it was a battle.
No.
I
think it was named.
Listen, I always say I learn stuff off my guests.
Yeah.
No, I've learned. Yeah, that's a new one.
And it's so well known, and it's a lovely little town. But again, you're well known for. Oh, you're Trisha's son.
Little town.
Town. Everyone knows everyone, but it's my hometown. So. And then like I said, going to Portsmouth, and I didn't really at the time. I was a chef.
Okay.
So I was a chef at the local pub in Battle, but still drinking every night.
I've had a few chefs come through here,
Yeah.
Seems to be a strange connection. There's quite a few chefs that end up as painters, weirdly. Yeah.
Everyone goes down the same road, don't they? So and I didn't have any qualifications really. I was just known. Not my nickname was JY. I was the funny, loud one, always making people laugh. But again, it was a mask.
Yeah.
It was just a complete false coping mechanism, and it just lasted for years and years and years.
I think society has got something to play in it, James, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Because you've used the word coping mechanism, but the thing is, so that's a horrific, traumatic experience that you have to cope with. But when you're not taught any other coping mechanism, what's right in front of you is alcohol, is masking. When nobody actually takes you aside and sort of like tells you how to process it, I guess healthily. All the things in society, it's like everything though, isn't it, mate? You had a bad day, let's go for a drink.
And I use that a lot.
Yeah.
I would make sure I have a stressful day just so I can have a drink at the end of it.
Really?
But it would, and it was just escalating. It was every night. And then, I was drinking like 8 cans of cider a night on my own.
Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it?
But as soon as I had that sip, everything went. So it was just gradually just making sure that I had a drink so I could feel fine.
No.
And it sounds so bizarre, but if I faced my demons early on, like I have done the last 8 months, it could have just been completely different. But I think everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I used to just sit there and just wait for things to change. I think, why is all this happening to me? But then I'll be, using cocaine or drink. And I think the drugs didn't kick in till I was about 26.
So the drink ended up turning to drug. Was that like party scene stuff or?
So it was, because I was still in Portsmouth at the time. I think I must have been about 23, and you're going out, and it's the big town stuff now, the big city life, and then you just meet someone and they say, "Oh, have you tried this?" And I'm like, "Well, what is it?" He's like, "Okay," and I'm like, "Well, no, but I've had a couple of beers, why not?" And then, it's, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's this video of a bird and it walks along and it sees a golden token on the floor.
No, I
He
haven't.
sucks it in and then he flies for ages and then he gradually lands and then he sees it again and he runs towards it, does it again, flies but then suddenly falls, and he sees it again and he flies for a little bit, then falls really hard, and it gradually, it sucks you in, and then it takes you and then just drops you harder. So it's like you're using it as a quick fix, but then you're escalating the come down, or
Yeah.
and it is, and it's vicious, and then that's when the addiction started. People, close ones around me were like, I think you've got a problem. But then I was like, no.
Drink or drugs or both?
Both.
Right.
Drink-
One going hand in hand with the
Drink
other.
with the mate, and then it was, as soon as I have a sip of beer, I need
Get the bag in.
get the bag in. And it started off as fun.
Do you know what, James? The thing is, mate, it's such a... Not to detract from your story, but it's so common, and particularly blokes in the trades. So common, and I think our industry really suffers with it because we haven't got those coping mechanisms, and that's the one we've got.
Yeah.
And then with our peer group, because it's like this, isn't it? If you're a young lad and you're on a building site and you're struggling with something, you've gone through something, and you do confide in somebody, what advice are you likely to get?
Yeah.
The advice you're likely to get is, look, come down the pub after work.
Yeah.
This will cheer you up.
Yeah.
Have a bit of this, have a bit of that. And, we're all kind of accountable for it, really. I personally have never touched drugs, but have a similar, not obviously to the extremes of you, but the background. I grew up around a drinker, grew up around alcoholism, so I've experienced all that. I personally started drinking at a very young age. I'm talking like, I was my old man. I remember my first memory of being given alcohol with permission, I guess. I must have been no older than 10. And it was like on the way, I remember walking back, a vivid memory, walking back from the pub with my dad. And on the way home, he went into the off licence to get himself a few more beers for home. And you remember Hooch?
Yes.
Yeah. There was a time, right, nostalgia for people. There was a time where Hooch used to be sold in bottles that looked like Oasis bottles.
Yeah.
And they didn't look anything like alcohol, which was a great hit with the youngsters because police didn't know what they were initially. It didn't look, you could walk down the street drinking it as a youth and nobody would know.
No.
It didn't look like you'd got a can of Carlin in your hand.
Yeah.
But I remember my old man going, do you want a pack of them? I was like, eh? He was like, I'll get you 2. And that was where it started. 10 years old. I'll get you 2 hooches on the way home.
It's mad.
Yeah. Yeah. So the reason I'm sharing that with you, mate, is I can resonate.
Yeah.
Never ever got onto the drugs myself. Surrounded by it. In the culture heavily. But I think alcohol was always, I guess, enough for me personally. But yeah, I can understand, mate. I can understand where you were.
Yeah. And it does, it's especially, like you said, in the trade, it's just sucking the life out of everyone. And, that's why, I'm feel honoured to be here to talk about my struggles because, I started TikTok back in December and I've always said I recover loudly to help those who suffer in silence. And I was that person.
I love that, mate. I like that saying.
So
recover loudly. I'm going to say that again. So recover loudly to help those that suffer in silence. I like that.
And it is, it's some people say, but now you don't do it, so you're recovered. You never recover. It's just, I've really worked hard on myself and I've had a lot of crap that happens to others because of my addictions. So I've lost a lot of really close friends. I broke my family up numerous times.
Through what sort of thing, James?
I think it's the lies. When you're heavily in active addiction, into perspective, I He's still a good friend of mine. We haven't spoke for about a year and a half. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him and his family. He pulled me out the gutter from Portsmouth. He showed me the decorating scene. He employed me as his apprentice. He trained me up to be a really good decorator. He's a really good decorator himself. He's very strong-minded, so it kind of sorted me out a little bit. It was kind of took on like the father figure to me, because I felt like I've always had this little boy stuck inside me, and it just got, you know, we were best mates and we were working together, and again, like, for other people it is so hard to make sure that they're okay, but and again, my reason for coming on here is, you know, there's a lot of conversations to be had, and I hope he can see this, and, you know, we can sit down and hopefully sort something out as mates.
Yeah, I hope so, mate.
But yeah, the addictions just took over, and some of my decisions, you know, I don't agree with now, but at the time I had two devils on my shoulder, feeding addictions, making poor decisions, not doing the work properly because I was either high or really hungover, no sleep. So again, it's a big message, you know, if you're out there and you are stuck and it's affecting your family, it's affecting your friends, just talk, just talk to anyone. Don't be embarrassed. Addiction wants you dead. Like, it doesn't care about you. It doesn't care what's in front of you. You know, me and my ex, she, you know, we're not together now, but we're at a place where we're really good friends. And, you know, we've been through a lot. We've got a 5-year-old son together.
Let's pause a moment to thank our headline sponsors, Zinza, and let's talk about their product, Zinza Bin. Zinza Bin is a shellac-based formula, and it sticks to any surface without the need for sanding. It dries in 15 minutes and can be recoated in 45. Zinza Bin blocks stains, knots, sap streaks and odours, including water stains, oil stains, mould, nicotine, pen and more. It really is a fantastic product. Let's get back to the episode.
And back in the day, you know, we were obviously in the party scene, and 4 months after we met, we were pregnant.
Right.
So again, and at that time, I was just completely lost, deep in addiction, didn't know I had a problem, was, you know, again, escaping from reality.
You said a while ago that sort of people close to you had said to you, we think you've got a problem. How did you react when you were told that?
Just ignored them. Didn't take any notice, because I knew my addiction, so I knew I needed it to survive. And now I'm out of the addiction, you know, I'm still recovering, because it never goes away. It's, you know, it's an illness, it's an allergic reaction. You know, as soon as you have a drop of alcohol, you know, you want more. And then everything you've got in front of you just goes.
How long have you been sober for, James?
So I've been sober since December, but no one knows this, but I had a relapse in late February, early March.
Okay.
Which I'm honest about now, because it's part of it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to tell anyone at the time, because it was me that had to deal with it and had to pick myself back up, but it's all part of it. Relapse is a big part of it. If you go sober and you don't relapse, very well done, but don't sit there and beat yourself up about it. Because if you can pick yourself back up and get back on the horse, hold your head high, you know, I take accountability, and I'm man enough to say I've made some very bad decisions. but I'm also man enough to say I've got myself out of it, and I wouldn't be here today if I didn't look in the mirror and say, you need to sort this out.
What was that moment? Because there has to have come a point where you, I guess, I think a lot of the time it's a little bit like a seed that's planted. It starts to creep in, the thought of like, maybe there is a problem, but no, I'm okay. But then the maybe becomes bigger than the contrary argument. But was there like a pivotal moment for you?
I think it was the last time I broke up with my ex-partner. It was just before Christmas, and I was sober. I was actually sober because we've been on and off for 7 years because of my addictions, the mental health side. I don't think she's fully understanding about the addiction and mental health side, and that's not a bad thing. You know, it's a lot harder for the other person to work with it if you think it's going to jeopardize her life and our son's life. So, and I respect that massively, and I can only go and work on myself and get to where I need to be, which I've done. But it was last November, and it was from about April time last year, I'd gradually started to drink again. And then it was not really using drugs so much, but I would just drink. And then I'll turn into a completely different person, just bubbly, wanting to talk, happy. And again, I don't know if it was the scenery. It was, you know, does she really like me for who I am, or do I need to be this person who drinks because that's fun and the other person's boring? And I was just drinking gradually, and then it was becoming a problem. And then obviously we both just looked at each other one night, and it was just like, this isn't working, is it? For me, because I was still a bit foggy, I've really, you know, and I still do love her, but I think for our son, it was, we don't want him to grow up like I did. So, again, I would always be like, well, we need to be together, because if we go apart, he's going to be like me. But now it's like the bigger picture is, if we get on really well and co-parent, which we do, and at the time it's not that I wanted to leave her, it was I wasn't the right person for her. So I love her that much, I'm going to go and let someone else make her happy, because I can't.
Mate, I mean,
So
that's massive respect. Like that's a hell of a statement, James.
And it is, and I look back and I'm like, I could change a lot, you know, and I think 80-90% of the whole population would go back and change a lot of things if they could. And I've got the biggest heart. I'm not being big-headed, but I've got my confidence back, and I'm a very loving guy, and I just want the best for everyone, because I know what it's like to have nothing and to lose everything. You know, last November I lost everything. I had to go and find another place, and you know, my addictions with gambling, that was another big reason in our relationship.
Okay.
And I was hiding everything, and it was, my credit is so bad because of my addictions. So I you know, luckily my sister was moved in with her boyfriend up in Maidstone, and she had the flat empty, so I had to start fresh. So I went there, got my son's room ready, staying there, and then that was the moment where I thought, I need to change. I really, this is it now. And I just went, excuse the pun, gambling. I went all in. I went all in, put all of my debts and stuff on hold, started from the bottom. Right, this is what I need to do. I got a job, subcontracting off another firm, regular income, but it wasn't enough because my overheads were big because of my outgoings. They're just ludicrous.
Yeah.
So then, and at the point I started Dragonfly at the start of 2024 when I was living with my ex at the time, and then done it all year till like November, till I hit rock bottom, and then that was it. I put that to one side, and then started subcontracting, and then I think February time, March, after that relapse, I went, I need to do Dragonfly. I need to do it. And again, there's a story behind the Dragonfly decorating. My sister, sadly, 6 years ago, heart attack in Australia, and just dead within, well, she was brain dead. Wow. And she was obsessed with dragonflies. So at her funeral, she had a dragonfly coffin. She was just obsessed with dragonflies. So Dragonfly is for her.
I'm so sorry to hear that, mate. That's horrific.
No, I mean, it's... But again, like, everyone's got a story, and which is why I'm so strong-hearted about addiction, mental health, you know, for anyone. And especially, like, you know, June was men's mental health, but I've done a couple of videos where, yeah, we need to talk more as men, but again, it's children, boys, girls, women, men,
well,
of any ages.
Yeah. It's starting... There's always the what ifs, mate, isn't there? And I'm a great believer in following the value in trauma. It's a conversation I've had many times where, to me, as horrific as everything you've been through is, and the journey that you've been on has been so tough, it now puts you in this unique position where you can use all of that experience to help other people.
Yeah.
And that's that thing, isn't it? If you can use every bit of pain that you've been through and help one not have to experience it, I wouldn't say it's been worth it, but it gives it purpose.
Yeah.
You know? You can't withdraw everything that you've been through. You can't withdraw the things that you've done and the things that you've seen. But what you can do is use that in a positive way rather than a negative way. And that's one of the beautiful things about this platform, which is hopefully this message will go out there to other people that might recognise, because, mate, alcohol is such a big and common one. The amount of people that I've spoken to, and I've probably been in those positions myself over the past. I've never been in active addiction. I've been unhealthy with alcohol because I'll drink to oblivion. But I've always been hyper aware that I've got the tendency that I could lean on it. Yeah. And, you know, just like pre-record we were talking about last week wasn't a great week for me. And there's, I'm a rum drinker, I like rum. But there's a bottle in the fridge and I am adamant that I won't reach for a drink when I need one. No. That's a good way to look at it. If I want one, and I've looked at it every day, mate, I could neck that.
But it is,
But because I knew that was it was a need because I was struggling with something within myself, I will stay away. Yeah. You know, because I've got an underlying fear, I guess, that I could repeat a pattern that was shown to me at a young age. Yeah. And being a father myself, same thing. I don't want to show my kids that. No. So yeah, but that's, to me, then that's that value to me. You know, had I have not maybe seen that, then maybe actually I would. You know, I've got that fear that's been imprinted in me from my past experience. If I didn't have that experience, maybe that would actually lead me down a more negative path now. And you're in such a powerful place, James. I know you're only at the beginning of your journey with it, really. But you'll put yourself, first of all, what I would say, and I'm not really one to give advice, but don't put too much pressure on yourself to help others.
Yeah.
Until you're, well established in your own journey. If you can, great, and if that gives you purpose, lean into it. But you are, honestly, mate, you'll be in such a powerful position to help others, particularly others in this sector, because who are you going to take advice from? You're going to walk. I mean, I know me, right? If I turned up at the bottom of Mount Everest and there were two guides there, and one went, I've never done a day's school in my life, but I've walked up that mountain 100 times, top and back, and I've always done it safely. And there was somebody that went, well, I've got a master's degree in Mount Everest. I know I've studied the maps for my whole life, but I've never actually walked the mountain. But I can get you up there, I think. I know which one I'd go with. You know what I mean? And you're in that position where, when it comes to helping others, you've walked the path.
Yep.
And there's real value to that.
I think it's experience. Because I've battled with it for so long, and this is the second or third big time now that I've gone cold turkey, clean and sober. I don't know, I just feel like this time, the relapse I had, it wasn't massive, but it was still a relapse, and I'm not going to
ask what triggered it?
I think it was... I was working with someone who struggles as well. She was working for me, and the triggers were there, and it just happened. And then we both agreed that we can't work together because we're both like two kids in a sweet shop with a maximum budget. So that was that, and it's the experience, and I know how to pick myself back up very quickly because I know what it's like at the bottom. And I just look back at November, and I don't know, like I'm up at 5 every morning, where I used to sleep until like as soon as I need to.
Yeah.
So if I need to be on site for 7:30, I'm sleeping till 7, 15, and just motoring my way in there. But I've started the last few months just putting on my Instagram when I leave for work early. I try and leave at 6 a.m. and I put a positive message every morning.
What are your customers thinking when you're rocking up at 6 a.m?
But most of my work recently is like an hour away.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like... But if it's not, I go and get a coffee, go and pick up who works for me, have a chat, have a talk, and then it's all systems go. But my oomph now is, again, when I started documenting and talking into a camera last December, last year, no way in hell. And it's the feedback and the...
Keep it up, mate.
And it's the positivity.
By coming on this today, the episode will be out in a couple of weeks. You'll then become part of almost like a community. Some of the guests that have been on this podcast are great friends now.
Yeah.
And you'll be a part of whatever this is, whatever this thing has become. And that will add to what you're already doing.
Yeah.
So just keep it up. Keep posting, because it will keep you accountable. Yeah. But it'll be inspiring a lot of people, and some of the best work that you'll do, you'll never know about.
No,
because it'll be the seed that gets planted.
Yeah.
That you will never see grow.
No,
you might say something, because I know with me, years ago when I went through divorce, and that was the first time I ever acknowledged mental health in my life. But it took a while. There was a seed planted, and I completely rejected it. I had to come to that conclusion myself, but the seed was in. And there'll be people that will be listening to your story revolving around addiction, and they will have heard things that will resonate, and it might have been a bit uncomfortable, because they'll be thinking, shit, that sounds a bit like me.
Yeah.
That's that seed. And it might take 6 months for them to go, okay.
And that's how it started. It was doing the TikTok, and then it was just no work really related. It was just addiction, sobriety, and then there's a community of there's the community on sobriety and addiction on there, and then it just went from there, and then it was just getting thousands of views, like, and then I was just like, this is doing something, and then I came Top Notch Rob came across one of my videos. I think I was painting or talking about something, and he said, "Mate, join this our WhatsApp group," and then that was 4 months ago now, maybe. Probably 3. And then that's when I thought, right, I'm going to go all in with work content, but still still talk about my addiction community, but mould them into one. And I've started, the last month or two was more Instagram. And then the Bolton show, things are just, I feel like every day or every couple of days, things are just going kaboom. And it is like the painting community as well. It's just like massive.
I think there's nobody better to understand. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're all the same. A lot of us have been through our battles. A lot of people that go into the trades. I mean, one of the reasons why I think this podcast has done so well is because I've talked to so many people in the trades, and you know what? They're salt of the fucking earth. Like, they're the people that have lives, have story, have character.
And they're all down to earth.
Yeah, they've been through adversity. No one
thinks they're better than anyone else.
And I guarantee you, mate, there's nobody that will judge you for anything you've said today.
No, and even really successful ones.
Yeah.
I was speaking to Kev recently, Andy from Abode Decor.
Great lads.
And they're just, honestly, there's so many out there.
Yeah.
And because I've been doing this, it stems back to my mate who trained me up. There's a lot to squash. But again, it's, no matter what's happened, unfortunately, it's happened. I've held my hands up and probably made a lot of mistakes. But if something was to happen to him or his family tomorrow, I'll be gutted.
Do you know what, mate? I think if you can personally get anything from this podcast and this person hears your viewpoint, because it seems very obvious to me that there's pain there, that you would like to mend that relationship. I guess if perfect platform, because you can say what you want, that they're not there to reply. If you could say anything to that person now, what would that be?
Sorry, and I miss that friendship.
That's all that needs to be said, mate.
But again, he's not here, so there's obviously stuff, the two sides to every story, and
But that could be enough, mate. I mean, I don't know. I can't see the future, but maybe that's enough to just start a conversation.
Again, it's, a lot has happened, and a lot, I've put a lot of people through hurt, but I just hope, after this especially, I hope that they can see that was me then, and they can hopefully say, fair play, he's worked on himself. And at the end of the day, it's like I always say, my goals every week are exactly the same: never give up and be better than yesterday.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to give myself and my son a future of happiness. That is it.
There's no more noble thing than that.
No.
It's incredible. I mean, you were saying about things happening. Once you start putting yourself in the right places, it's no coincidence that the good things happen and the right opportunities come your way, because the previous version of you that was deep in addiction would never have gone to the show in Bolton, because it wouldn't have mattered.
No.
What would have mattered?
Gone there and just stayed at the bar.
There you go.
And not even said anything to anyone.
There you go.
And because of my battles with addiction and stuff, like a year ago, I could not imagine me sitting here and talking. Self-confidence was nothing. even talking to someone, I'd be having to look away because I think, they're looking at me. What have am I gurning or, it's just, and it isn't. And I've always said, if I can do one thing every other day or every week to come out my comfort zone, then I'm going to be happy with that. And ever since I've done it, things are just happening. That's
it, mate. The universe has a funny way of rewarding those that walk that correct path, as it were. I've done the same, mate. I've done the same. I mean, I've been in business. I've been running my business since I was 17. And it's only, like this whole thing, I never expected this. No. I started this 18 months ago with no expectations. Started the social media journey a few years before that, but it has just been a continual. Once you start looking for open doors rather than closed doors,
100%,
all you see is opportunity.
100%, and it's endless.
Exactly, yeah.
And it goes back, like, there's enough room for everyone to succeed.
1,000,000%, mate. 1,000,000%. And just keep going, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. It is a fantastic community. There's a lot of room. There's a lot of room for a lot of people, and there's so much support within it.
Yeah, the support is bad. Like, again, going back, I've mainly done it to help myself, and I've said if I can help one person, I'm happy. And it is just, and now to this day, it's probably 5+ messages a day, which for a little old me, if I said in 5 years' time, you're going to be here, you're going to have your own business.
There you go, man.
Would have absolutely barreled with laughter.
And you're only just getting started, James.
And I'm just getting started.
Love it, mate. I love it. It's the business thing as well. I mean, the story behind Dragonfly is enough I guess, for you to want to build that into something memorable. Yeah.
Because it means a lot. Not for myself, but for my whole family as well.
Yeah.
My sister had a daughter and a son in Australia, and they were, 18, 19 at the time.
Oh, okay.
So, there's a lot that happened in the family, and, my Amy, the youngest sister, she had leukemia. She suffered leukemia, and it's just endless. It's like, the Youngs, our second name, is just been through a hell of a lot. But again, so has everyone, and everyone's got a story. And just that saying, my recovery is so loud.
And long may it continue to do so, mate.
Yeah, long may it continue, man.
It's there's so many people out there that need help. There really is. And if your story can go out there and achieve that, I mean, if there's anyone out there now who's listening to your story and thinking, maybe I've got an issue, have you got any advice in terms of first steps?
Just say to yourself, it's okay. If you think it's bad now, then it can only get better. Talk to anyone. There's so many, like Samaritans, and there's so many helplines. Even with addiction of gambling, even if you haven't got a problem with the drink and the drugs, but, the gambling now is really up.
Oh, massive.
Up sailing.
Yeah.
I had a guy on TikTok message me, and he had a gambling addiction, and he's running now. And it's so inspiring, and it's just like, he was like, mate, fair play, you've done all three, and mine was only gambling, and there's so many different types of addiction, even porn.
Yeah.
And it's just talk. Like, it sounds so easy, but as soon as you say anything regarding your problem, it then leads to more conversation.
Yeah.
And talking is just the best medicine. Which, again, coming on here, saying my story is just a bit humbling.
100%, mate. I mean, the the sign that you guys over there can't see, but there's a sign that we're looking at, and in big neon lights it says "Let's Talk." In fact, I said that, and I've looked at the camera and realised that I've got this particular T-shirt here, which states "Let's Talk, Let's Listen." And it was one of, because I don't. Do you know that I used to volunteer at Samaritans?
Did you? I didn't know that.
Okay, part of my story, mate. Yeah, but yeah. So the reason that I'm sat here today, I'll give you a really condensed version because these guys have heard it many times. But I started studying psychology, started doing a BSc honours degree in psychology, and as part of that was leaning towards therapy and counselling, and as part of that volunteered at Samaritans. So I volunteered at Samaritans for about 18 months on the calls, taking the crisis calls, and it was that realisation for me of the power of talking and listening, and that's why this whole thing, let's talk, let's listen, the balance between the two, because the let's listen side of it, listening is just as important
100%.
as talking. It's one of those things, you've said it several times, first best thing you can do, talk. You need to know where to talk.
Yeah.
And at the end of that desire to talk, there's got to be somebody there to listen. Samaritans are great. Anyone listening, 116, 123, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. It can be Christmas Day.
Yeah.
There's people there that are there to listen to you.
Which is unbelievable.
Oh, mate, I saw it firsthand. It's an incredible organisation. But it highlighted to me firsthand just the power of talking and listening. I've touched on this a few times, but one of the main things with that is that at Samaritans, they're not allowed to give advice. So it's not an advice line. It is
just someone to talk.
Literally a listening service. That's it. And I was, again, privileged to take some calls from people that were at the worst point, that contemplate. It could have gone either way. And all you're allowed to do is listen. And I witnessed the power of that, whether it was a 5-minute, half an hour or an hour's phone call, the transformation between considering ending their life to, maybe, do you know what, actually I'm going to go and talk to my parents. I'm going to go and talk to a loved one. I'm going to let somebody know that this is where I'm at. And it was just the process of letting somebody unpack their thoughts, take that weight off, that pressure off, take the thoughts, take them out, vocalise them, organise them, make sense of them. They don't go away. The feelings don't go away.
No.
But sometimes it can just, when everything is jumbled and you're holding it in, it gets that intense that you think there's no way out. And that service, it's incredible, mate. It was life-changing for me. And the reason that I then started the podcast was because of that. Because I was taking a lot of phone calls from people in the trades. And I was talking to what I considered an abnormal amount of people in the trades. And I was on shift one day and I literally thought to myself, I'm speaking to builders and carpenters and plasterers and painters and plumbers and, what's going on? Kind of thing. And I wasn't even aware. I was ignorant to it myself after spending a lifetime in construction. And I sat there and Googled it. While I was on shift at Samaritans, Googled the statistics around mental health in construction and, unfortunately, suicide rates in construction, and was horrified. No idea.
Yes, Mark. Well, it's the thing, isn't it? You go out, especially in construction, you're a man. You go out, you work, and you come home.
Yep.
You don't have any problems. But, and going back to, I need to bring this up. I've tried to end my life just after my son was born. It got so bad. I was moved out because I split up with my ex, and I got in my first apartment, and it was everything just got too much, and I sat there and I texted her, please look after him, love you, goodbye, and then that was it. But I was so intoxicated with drugs, alcohol, but I couldn't, at that point I couldn't see a way out. I just couldn't see anything. I think this is my life now.
Yeah.
I'm hook, line and sinker. and all people around me deserve better than this. So I swallowed 35 of my antidepressants all at once. And then that was just a flash. But my sister and my brother-in-law, I don't know if they kicked the door in, but I just woke up and I was on a drip in the hospital. And I knew one of the nurses from school. And she was talking to me. She's like, "You okay? Like, do you want to talk? I know it's probably not the best time, but, you know, we're here for you." She goes, you're very lucky. So yeah, that's another thing. You're here for a reason. Please, just things do get better, I promise. And, you know, I'm not going to say that I've been through much worse than anyone else, but if I can get through what I've got through, then anything's possible. And I'm living proof that you can have nothing and you can kind of get to a happy place.
So I really appreciate you sharing that, James, because again, it's that thing. There's people out there having those thoughts right now, and
again, some people don't make it.
A lot of people don't make it. A lot of people, 2 a day in construction alone. I saw a stat earlier actually that already this year, so in the first 6 months, and this is worldwide, but in the first 6 months of this year, 444,000 people took their own life. It was over that, actually. So then that's in 6 months. So, it's a lot on a daily basis.
It's horrible.
It's a lot. It is. And our industry, unfortunately, is disproportionately affected.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the 2 worst trades within construction are plasterers and painters and decorators. Make up the bigger numbers of those. My own speculation is that is because we're a finishing trade, so it's more isolation, more lonely working. Could be other things, obviously, but that's what I've been led to come to the conclusion of. But have you got any thoughts on it? You got any thoughts on why construction is so badly affected?
I think it's because, I don't know, I feel like men, they try to brush a lot off and they try to forget how they're feeling, where if you can feel how you're feeling and talk about it there and then, where I just feel like men growing up, it's always like, shut up, you're a man. Get on with it.
Yeah.
You're a man, not a boy. You know? Where not that we're wired differently, but like this day and age as well, like it's okay not to be okay. You know, there's a lot more that goes on through a man's head than a woman's. Talk about it, and it's just one step in front of the other, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a lot to it, mate. I think some of it is that generational thing. I mean, I don't mean to be too personal on this because I don't really like talking about people's kids, but when your son grows up, will you, because I know how my childhood went, and it was that, man up, bottle it up. Don't ever let anyone know they've upset you. That was what my old man used to say. And I take it back to like sport and football, and it was the same. It was like, don't ever let anyone know you're hurt. Don't ever let anybody know you're upset. And I took that through, and I struggle to process it now. Sometimes I wish I could cry, and I just can't. Like, I have cried throughout my life, but not. There's times where I wish I could, like, offload it, but I just can't force myself to do it. But going back to it, would you, like, as your son grows up, how would you talk to him about like feelings and emotions and processing that? I'm going to pause there to thank this episode's sponsors, Abode Academy. Abode offer practical-based spray courses in Wiltshire and Manchester. They teach airless spraying, kitchen and furniture spraying, UPVC spraying, special effects including metal and workshop refurbishment courses. I myself have been on their airless course and I really enjoyed it. They teach in small groups, so it's a laid-back environment and very hands-on, loads of time on the sprayers. Their courses are approved by the Construction Industry Training Board, otherwise known as CITB, so you know you're getting good quality training. They offer full aftercare support and have their own range of spray equipment, which is top quality at affordable prices, and the aftercare they give is nothing short of amazing. If you're thinking of getting into spraying, you can check out their website at www.abodeacademy.co.uk, or you can search them up at Abode Academy on Instagram, as they post loads of helpful spraying content with tips and tricks. Thanks to the team at Abode Academy for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Let's get back to the episode.
Well, he's going to be 6 in September, and the last year especially, or 8-9 months, I've tried to talk to him more, because this time round, through the separation and stuff, he's clued on, and we are really good at co-parenting, and we are very lucky that he's fine. But I always say to him now, I say, what don't we do? And he goes, we never give up, Daddy, do we? And I'm like, no. So try to do that, but obviously where, it's his first year of school, the separation, he's had to go through a lot. So, and he still does ask, he says, are we still a family? And we are. We'll always be a family, but just not together. And he will be fine, and it is the best thing for us as a free. But him growing up, I will be there for him majority more emotionally. I think from my upbringing, my dad wasn't really there, but he was only there telling me off. Do you know? So, and growing up, he chucked money at me because he felt probably bad the upbringing that I had. So it was, I'd cut the grass and he'll give me like 50 quid.
Yeah.
And then I'll be going out, and
that was his expression of love at the time.
But that was
wasn't it?
his way, and now, our relationship's probably been the best it's ever been, because we're there as a father and son emotion, not.
Yeah.
And it's
hard because, again, mate, it's easy to almost like blame, but the reality is it's like the burning matchsticks, isn't it? It takes one to step out to stop the rest burning.
Yeah.
And I know, like, my father, his upbringing was the same. My grandfather's was even worse, and it was that old thing, wasn't it, where it was like it was the dad's job to discipline.
Yeah.
And be the strong and almost the scary one.
Yeah.
It's your job that the kids should be scared of you, so they stay in line.
Yeah.
And it was the mother's job to do the other side of things. Yeah. It's strange, isn't it? I mean, again, me as a parent, you never know when you're getting it right there.
No.
But I've tried. I mean, me and my son, we talk about like emotions and feelings and stuff like that all the time. And he's far more emotionally intelligent at his age now than I ever was at his age, And I hope I've done a better job. I know I could have done better. Because I still sometimes struggle to express my emotions. But again, how do you reverse? You can't reverse a lifetime of conditioning.
No, and it goes
that quickly.
It goes back again. If you ask, if you said to someone, will you change this? Do you think you've done this right? They'll go, no. They'll go back. But I know now that the father role I am now, so much better. I'm such a better dad, sober. I'm just a better person all round sober. And again, my dad made a lot of mistakes. He could probably say, oh, I did, but, he went through a lot. He could only do what he could at the time. And unfortunately, if he didn't go to work, I wouldn't have had, or we wouldn't have had all of the things that we had growing up.
Yeah, it's tough.
And again, with like schools and stuff, like I want to bring in, or I would like to bring in, new books where the parents aren't together.
Yeah.
You know,
Mate, I think it's so common now, let's be honest.
it's so
I don't know what the
common,
percentages
and
are, but
talking about dating and stuff, and I couldn't think of anything worse at the moment, but I do want to meet that someone who sees past the cracks and just likes me for who I am, but it's this day and age, it's easy to, oh, you've done this, we don't need to be together.
I think it will come, mate. I mean, listen, I'm no dating coach, but the way I see it is with the work that you're doing on yourself to present the best version of you is the best thing you can do, because then you're going to attract the right person in the right environment, and the kind of person that deserves you and you deserve. So it's one of those things not to rush, mate, isn't it?
No, and there's there's someone out there for everyone. There's,
yeah, of course.
Like with my ex, I left because I wanted her to be happy. So for me at the time, it was like, this is the end of the world now. And again, it's like, but actually, we've just, we never really learned about each other because we were so, I think we were, and she's been through a lot, she's been through a lot as well. So again, I feel like we were a bit trauma bonded. And again, we were learning about each other whilst trying to learn about ourselves.
Yeah.
But again, we've got the best thing. We've got the perfect little boy, and if I can have her as a friend now for life, I'm happy. And I'd never, she's an amazing mum. Couldn't take that away from her.
Beautiful statement, mate. I think
amazing mum.
It's probably the thing that touched me the most in this conversation has been that when you said that you left that relationship so that she could be happy with somebody else because you weren't the right person for her then. Yeah, that I felt that. Like that was a
like now
a very genuine moment.
Like I think too much has happened, and again it goes back to, it's a lot harder for someone else to like or live with someone who suffers with addiction, mental health. Not that they're doing anything wrong. It's just, we're just two completely different people.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. We were meant to meet, we were meant to have our son. And now we probably wish each other the best. And
Lovely way to be.
We could both phone each other whenever and just talk about our son. She knows full well that if he needed anything, or I can sort it within minutes. And that is what we're going to be, so it's just a respect thing.
Love that, mate. I love that. Coming from a broken family myself and not experiencing that, so that was, like I say, with me, the way I was raised by my dad. My mum left. So it was, and that split was definitely not harmonious. In the situation that I'm in with my own kids, so I'm remarried. So my kid's mother, there's no contact between us. That's not an amicable situation, unfortunately. So the value to that, your situation, honestly, mate, it's the best possible thing you can do for your son is exactly what you're doing, because he will reap the rewards of that hugely.
Yeah, and I think it's because I'm so level-headed now and everything's clear, and like I said, things are just getting better and better because I'm putting myself out there. I'm trying to better myself, and it's a knock-on effect. The positivity from me spreads, and just, it is, you do good comes to you.
Yeah.
100%.
Mate, I completely agree.
And, I will never want my son to experience half the stuff I've experienced.
And hopefully through your lessons he won't.
No, and it's been a lot of lessons, don't get me wrong. But, you know, and I'm not going to sit here and, you know, preach and say I've fixed things and I'm this perfect person now. No one's perfect. No one will ever be perfect. But I've just learnt the hard way. And I'm just trying to better myself every day.
What more can you do, mate?
What more can I do?
That's exactly that, mate. It's keep on that path. Keep looking at the open doors. Use your experience and journey to help others. And I think ultimately that's what's going to lead you to the right places. So, and keep doing what you're doing, mate.
No, I appreciate it.
It's as I say, I really appreciate you sharing your story. It will go to help others. It will become a part of the community and the resources that this provides. So, before we sort of wrap the conversation up, James, first of all, if anyone wants to reach out to you after anything that they've said and you've said and they resonate with, where would they find you?
So I'm Dragonfly_decorating on Instagram, or my TikTok is just James Young with a little trophy next to it.
I will tag these. So wherever you're listening, have a look in the episode description. There'll be a link to James's social media, so you can find him that way. Are you happy if anyone does want to reach out for
Feel
people
free,
to do that?
absolutely feel free, because again, when I started, I didn't do it to say, look at me. I'd done it to help me, and it is now it's helping loads of people.
Mate,
So,
what more can you want?
what more could I want? So,
Well, go and give James a follow. Reach out if you wish to. Again, before we wrap up, is there anything that we haven't discussed that you wanted to talk about today?
no, that is short and sweet.
Then I thank you massively, mate, for your
Thank
openness. Really appreciate it.
No,
Really do.
it's an honour, so thank you.
Mate, I've said this so many times, the honour's all mine. I've built this platform, yes. I provide it for people like yourself. Without people like yourself, I'll be sat talking in an empty room. So you guys that have, yes, I've built the platform of the podcast, but it really, truly is the community that are growing it, using it, keeping it alive and giving it that life to go out there and help other people. So I think that's what we all want to do. We all want to use our own traumas to pay forwards some kind of positivity. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to be a part of. Again, a hugely thank you for being a part of it. Before we wrap up, a quick thank you to our sponsors. So our guest merchandise sponsors, the Funky Peach, big thank you to you guys. And our other sponsors, again, all incredible. Thank you massively for your support. Without your support, this platform could not grow the way that it's grown. Our headline sponsors, Zinza, massive thank you to you guys in particular. And that's about it for this one, mate. So to everybody listening, thank you very much for tuning in. I'll catch you soon on the next one.
Thank you very much.
All right, mate.